How are you doing, math learners? This is your free access math teacher Ash, and welcome to ML with Sir Ash. For today's lesson, we're going to discuss a topic that can be applied in the upcoming years of your high school level. This is all about special products. Now, if you don't know anything about this topic, then I suggest you sit back, relax, and finish this video. But before anything else, hit the subscribe button and notification bell for you to be updated of the School Clear Math videos just like this. Hello math learners! Welcome to another session here in Math Learning with Sir Ash. Today, we're going to discuss the most essential learning competency-based lesson for Quarter 2 of the Grade 7 Mathematics, which is all about special products. Now, the question is, what is a special product? Basically, a special product is a part in mathematics, specifically in algebra, in which you are taught to know the techniques and some other tricks for you to have a faster way of multiplying algebraic expressions. Now, in this video, I will teach you a lot of scenarios from the product of a binomial down to the cube of a binomial on how to properly multiply such algebraic expression and the techniques behind them for you to have a faster way of multiplying them. Now, let us go to our discussion board. Okay, math learners, we have here our different scenarios for the special products. We have the product of two binomials, product of the sum and difference of two terms, squaring the binomial, the cube of a binomial, and the product of a binomial and trinomial. Remember, this is a topic about special products. So I will teach you what are the things to consider if you have this kind of scenarios. Okay, now let's start with the product of two binomials. Of course, binomial is two term. Okay, so let's say you have A plus B, and then another is C plus D. So if you have a product of a binomial, you need to get the product of these two binomials. What you need to do is you can apply two methods. The first method is the horizontal method and the second method is the vertical method. Using the horizontal method, you can apply the FOIL method. So what is this FOIL method? That is what we know as the first terms, okay, first terms of the binomial. Outer terms, these are the outer terms. Okay, outer terms, the inner terms, and the last terms. Okay, so how do you get the value if you have this kind of problems? So first, the thing you need to consider is just to put them together. So the first terms, these are the first terms. So we will have AC. The outer terms, okay, this is the 1. So that will become AD. The inner terms, okay, this is the 1. So this will become BC. And the last terms, these are the 2. So that will become BD. So that will be the construction of your answer. Now, if you encounter common terms, you need to simplify it. Now, let us consider an example. Let's say you have x plus 3 times x minus 2. Okay? So the first terms is this. That will become x squared. The outer terms is this one, x and negative 2. So negative 2 times x, that is negative 2x. The inner terms, 3 times x, that is positive 3x. And the last terms is positive 3 and negative 2, that will be negative 6. So as you can see, in this portion, we have linear terms, meaning they are like terms. So we need to simplify this. So what is the answer of negative 2x plus 3x? That is positive x. So we will have x squared plus x minus 6. And this will be your final answer for this given problem. Easy, right? Now, the question is, how do we solve this one using the vertical method? Now, in solving the vertical method, you just align them like this, okay? A plus B times C plus D, okay? And then, you multiply the same concept as you are multiplying big numbers. So, that will become D times B, so that is BD. D times A, that will become AD, okay? And then C times B, that will become CB, and then C times A, or that will become AC. Okay, so if you add them, this will become AC plus CB plus AD plus BD, and they are just the same. Easy, right? Now, what if we try to do this in the vertical method? So we have x plus 3 times x minus 2. So 2 times 3, that is negative 6. 2 times x, that is positive 2x. Sorry, negative 2x. Because this is minus 2, okay? X times 3, that is positive 3x. So I just align them because they are both in the linear term. X times x, that is positive x squared. So x times 3, that is positive, okay? So now, negative 6. Negative 2 plus positive 3x, that will give you positive x. Then you just bring down the x squared. So since this is positive, so I will put a plus here. And they are just the same. Easy, right? So now let us go to our second scenario. Okay, math learners, for our second scenario, the product of the sum and difference of two terms, that means that you have two terms that are the same, but they have a different operation. Example, if you have a plus b, that is the sum of two terms, and then the difference of two terms is a minus b. So how do you multiply this kind of scenario? My dear math learners, the thing is, this is very easy. Why? Because you just square your first term and second term, and then you just put a subtraction between them. So the square of a is a squared, the square of b is b squared, and then you put a minus in this given. That's it. Okay, now let's try to have more examples. What if you have, let's say, x plus 7 times x minus 7? As you can see, my dear math learners, the two terms are the same, okay? But their operation is different. This is the sum of two terms. This is the difference of two terms. So if you have this kind of scenario, what you need to do is you just square your first term, and then you square your second term, and then you put a minus between them. Easy. How about this one? Let's say y plus 10, and then y minus 10. Okay. So, what we need to do here is you just square the y, and then you square the second, 10, that is 100, and then you put a minus, and that's it. Easy, right? Now, let us go to our third scenario, the square of a binomial. Okay, my dear math learners, for the square of a binomial, basically, you just have a binomial and then the square of it. So, let's say that is a plus b. So, what is the square of this one? Basically, what you need to do is you just expand this, and then you can apply the full method. Now, for you to have a lesser time on this one, if you will encounter a square binomial, what you can do is, the technique is very simple. You just get the square of the first, and then you just get the square of the last, and then twice the product of the two terms. So twice the product, so that is 2, and then the product of the two terms, a times b, that is ab. And then you just apply plus. Easy, right? So now the question is, what if this is subtraction? So if that is subtraction, let's say a minus b squared, okay? So what you will do is, by expanding, this will be the loop of this one, and then the final answer will be a squared, 2ab, b squared. This will become plus, this will become minus. As you can see, if you compare them, this is the only difference. So if you have the binomial sum, all of its terms are positive. But if you have a binomial difference, then the second term is negative. Easy, right? Now let's try to have an example. Let's say we have x plus 4 squared. Okay. So basically what you need to do here is, the expansion of that is this one. Now, my dear math learners, you don't need to write the expansion, okay? So if you consider our final answer, okay, you get the square of the first, that is x squared, the square of the last term or the second term, that is 16, and then twice the product of the first two terms. So x times 4, that is 4x, then twice of 4x is 8x. And then they are both plus. That will be your final answer. Easy, right? Now, how about if you have a binomial difference? So, let's say if you have y minus 7 squared. Okay. So, by expansion, this will be the case. Okay. And then, you get the square of the first, you get the square of the last, and then you get the product of the first two, then twice of it. So, y times 7, that is 7y. Twice of 7y is 14y. And then this will become minus, this will become plus. And that will be your final answer. Easy, right? Now, let us go to our cube of a binomial. Okay, math learners. For our cube of a binomial, it is just the same as the square of a binomial. We will talk about the sum on the difference of the binomials. So, now if we have the cube of the binomial sum, we will have a plus b cube. If we have the cube of the binomial difference, then that will give us a minus b cube. Okay, the question is, how do we get the technique here? Okay, my dear math learners, this is the technique. Okay, so what you need to do is you get the cube of the first term and then the cube of the last term. Now, since we are talking about cubes, there will be two more terms here. What are the two more terms? That will be thrice the square root of a and b, and then thrice the product of a, b squared. Okay? So, what are the signs? Since these are all positive, that is plus. Okay. Now, what about if we have this kind of problem? So, what you need to do is you just get the cube of the first and the cube of the last. Then, another two more, and that is 3a squared b, 3ab squared. And then the sign would be minus, plus, minus. So, alternating signs. Minus, plus, minus. Now, if you want to have an example, let's consider an example. Let's say we have x plus 2 cube. Okay. So, x plus 2 cube, that means x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x plus 2. So, what you need to do here is, you just get the cube of x, and then the cube of 2. So, that is 2 times 2 times 2. That will be 8. Okay? And then we get the square of the first term multiplied to the second term, then thrice of it. Okay? So, x squared times 2, that is 2x squared. Then, times 3, because we have 3 here. So, 2x squared times 3, that is 6x squared. And then, we have the third term, that will be the first term times the square of the second. So, the square of 2 is 4. So, 4 times x, that is 4x. And then, times 3, because we have 3 here. So, 4x times 3, that is 12x. So, all of the signs are positive. Easy, right? Now, my dear math learners, there is also a way in order for you not to have a problem on this one. What you need to do is you can write it vertically. So, you put here a cube and then 3a squared b, and then you have 3ab squared and then the b cube. Okay. Now, let's say we have the cube of the binomial difference. Let's say x minus 3 cube. Okay. So, that is difference and it is cube. Okay. So, our first term and second term will represent a and b. So, in this given, our a is x, our b is 3. Okay. So, do not consider the sign first. Okay. So, a cube. So, the cube of x is x cube. The cube of 3 is 27. Because 3 times 3 is 9 times 3, 27. Okay. Next is, you just apply this one. So, this has 3, right? Okay, 3. You just write this one. What is your a? That is x, right? So, x is squared. So, that is x squared. And your b is 3. So, you multiply again another 3. Okay. And then, for this term, we have our x is a. That is only 1. And b squared, that is b times b. So, that is 3 squared. So, if you simplify this one, you have 3 times 3, 9, times x squared, 9x squared. If you multiply this one, so this is 3 squared, that is 9. 9 times 3, that is 27, times x, that is 27x. So, you have now the 4 terms. Okay? So, you write this horizontally. So, that will give you x cubed, 9x squared, 27x, and 27. And then the sign will be alternating. So, minus, plus, minus. And that will be your final answer. Easy, right? So, now let us go to our final example. That is the product of a binomial and trinomial. Okay, math learners, for our final example or final scenario, the product of a binomial and trinomial, we will consider the special product part, okay? Because what I'm about to give you or to teach you is not always applicable to every scenario. So, since we are talking about special product, if the scenario is like this, a trinomial and a binomial, there is a way to solve that one. Now, if you encounter the form a squared plus ab plus b squared times a minus b, and another scenario is a squared minus ab plus b squared times a plus b. So this is where you will have a special product. Okay? So, in this case, as you can see, this is an example where your a, your first term, and your last term is a perfect square, and your middle term is the product of a and b. And then, your binomial is basically the a minus b. So, if this is the case, then the answer for this one is a cubed minus b cubed. Okay? But, if you encounter this kind of scenario where your first term and your last term is squared, and then your middle term is a subtraction or a negative value of the product of the two terms, and then it is multiplied by the binomial a plus b, then this will become a cubed plus b cubed. Okay? So now let us try to consider an example for you to really know where can this be applicable. Let's say you have an example, x squared minus 4x plus 16 times the binomial x plus 4. Now, my dear math learners, as you can see, this is a trinomial. This is a binomial. 3 terms and 2 terms. 3 terms and 2 terms. Okay? So, if this is the case, as you can see, the first term is a perfect square. X squared is a perfect square. 16 is a perfect square. Now, if you get the square root of each, that is x and 4, which is this one. And if you get the multiplication of this, that is 4x. And this is the same scenario as this one. Okay? So, if this is the case, the final answer will be x cubed plus 64. Because 4 times 4, 16 times 4, 64. So, this will be your final answer. Easy, right? Now, let's consider another example. What if we have y squared plus 5y plus 25 times y minus 5. So, as you can see, this is the same concept, okay? Now, if you encounter that one, you just get the cube of this one, okay, of your y, and then the cube of your 5, and that is 125, and you just copy this one, okay? So, that will be your final answer. As you can see, the binomial, the sign of the binomial was being copied. The sign of the binomial here was also being copied. So, my dear math learners, with just constant practice, I know you can have a concrete idea on how to understand this lesson. So, now this is the time that I will challenge you whether you have understood our topic, and here it is. Okay, math learners, I hope you have a wonderful time about our topic for today. This is still your free access math teacher Ash, and always remember it is fun to learn mathematics if we are together learning. Do not forget to keep learning about mathematics. And if you have liked this video, please share this to your fellow friends, classmates, and schoolmates. Thank you, God bless, and keep safe always. Congratulations, math learners, for arriving to this part of the video. If you think that this video have helped you, click that like button. And if you think that this channel can change the way you see mathematics, do not forget to click that subscribe button and notification bell. Thank you.